Good afternoon, DFCS staff. Thank you for joining the November DFCS Discourse. Today I'd like to talk to you about our blueprint for change, and more specifically about where we are with finalizing the adoption of a practice model. I've invited Deputy Director Ginger Pryor to join me this month, as she has been leading the work around this effort. As I hope you've heard by now, the adoption of a practice model is a part of our Blueprint for Change plan. Our Blueprint for Change was developed after a 6-month assessment of our work and outlines the high-level and interdependent changes that will put us on the path toward becoming our goal of the best family and children's services agency in the world. The Blueprint for Change lays out the areas we will focus on during the next few years, and if we are successful with each of them, we will have transformed our agency and accomplished significant outcomes as they relate to the safety, permanency, and well-being of our children and families. The plan incorporates recommendation of the Governor's Child Welfare Reform Council and is intentionally simple and straightforward. It includes 3 points. First, the development of a robust workforce through increased staffing and expertise, increased compensation, mentoring, and ongoing opportunities for learning. Second, engagement with our constituents through the creation of advisory boards, feedback loops, and organized roadshows to engage the public, stakeholders, and the media. We need to build consensus and collaboration around the work that we do. And finally, the adoption of a practice model that will keep kids safe and strengthen families. While work is ongoing on all 3, our most pressing conversations and decisions around the finalization of the practice model are happening now. We've selected solution-based casework for providing the framework for how we go about working with families and each other. Many states have adopted solution-based casework as their practice model and seen improved outcomes in safety, permanency, and well-being. Ginger, thank you very much for joining me today, and thank you for all the work you and the work groups are doing to finalize the details of implementing solution-based casework. Would you give an overview of the model and share our plans for bringing it to Georgia?
Absolutely. Thanks, Bobby, for inviting me to talk about this. Like you said, we've been gathering information, looking at the models from other states, and assessing our current policies and practices over the past few months. While we still have some work to do to finalize some of the details, we have decided that solution-based casework model is the model that best demonstrates the approach we want to take in working with families here in Georgia. We've selected solution-based casework, or SBC, to provide the framework for our practice in child welfare with a strong focus on safety. Let me share a little bit about SBC. It is based on 3 theoretical foundations. 1, family life cycle theory, which means that the life of every family has a cycle, and we should factor in where the family is in their life cycle and when we are working with them. 2, relapse prevention, which means that relapse is a very real part of working to change a behavior, especially one involving substance abuse. We have to make a plan to not only prevent relapse, but to plan for the safety of the child in the event of a relapse. And finally, 3, solution-focused family therapy. This means working with families to resolve their issues and locate solutions in a family-centered approach. I like to call this good old-fashioned casework. In short, these 3 foundations translate to the following. We will work to establish a full partnership with the family. This is critical to establishing the rapport needed to focus on solutions and address concerns. We will focus on the patterns of everyday life of the family to establish a partnership for protection. And finally, we will identify solutions which target the prevention skills that are needed to create an ongoing safe environment for children in everyday life. Once solution-based casework is fully implemented, social workers will use tools such as providing encouragement to families to combat the lack of hope they may feel because of their circumstances, and noticing and recognizing the skills families have and can use to anticipate and prevent child maltreatment. Right now, 9 different work groups are convening to discuss what is needed to successfully adopt solution-based casework as our practice. They include the design team, policy, shines, training and professional development, quality assurance and fidelity, organizational readiness, constituent engagement, selection and performance assessment, and finally an advisory board. While I want to introduce you to the basic concepts of the practice model, I also want you to remember that this is a long-term investment. It is not one where we are looking to roll out statewide in the next 6 months. It will begin implementation next summer with plans to have all of the state using solution-based casework practice methods by 2017. To be successful, we have to be thoughtful with our decisions and comprehensive in our implementation plan. Once we have finalized our key components, we will begin to address our needs for training, policy, shines, communication material, and so on. As we move ahead, more specific information and timelines will be shared. We've identified practice coaches in each area, so if you have questions, reach out to them. Their contact information and location is included in an attachment to the Discourse link. I'd like to close with a quote Bobby sent out earlier this month. Perfection is not attainable, but if we chase perfection, we can catch excellence. I invite you to jump in and be a part of this exciting time for our division and families.